Hello, everybody. I am so ready to talk to you today about mental practicing. Does it work for performers? The very simple answer is yes, of course it works. And you just got to be crazy to not use mental practicing because it is one of the very best tools that we have as musicians. However, there's a big caveat. You need to know how to do it. And I've been doing a little researching lately because mental practicing is a topic I've been talking about a lot with my students and my coaching clients and my group program. That's kind of been the topic that we've been talking about recently. And so I've done a little research and I was kind of appalled. Maybe that's too strong a word, but I was really, really surprised to see some of the so-called experts out there who are really giving information that is not so good. There's a lot of good information out there too, but as a mind-body expert and certified Alexander technique teacher and somebody who's actually been using mental practicing for my whole life since I was a little kid, I am a professional violinist, I just know that it's really important to get this right. So in this video, I want to just expose like 3 big mistakes that just about everybody is making that is preventing mental practicing from helping you in the absolute best way possible. Okay, so I am going to go into that material really very soon. However, I just want to introduce myself and say hello to everybody coming on. I'm so happy to see Leah. Hello, and Robin. Oh, Robin says this is something I've always done and was taught to do in a range of ways. Totally believe in it. Yes, excellent. Hello, Barb. And hey, oh, Robin says I do it with all of my piano, organ, and singing students. Excellent. Okay, so I'm sure that most of the musicians coming on today have done some sort of mental practicing, but really, there are a lot of people who don't know how to do it, and there are ways to do it, and there are better ways to do it. So I'm hoping that I can share what I have developed and learned myself as one of the better ways. And I hope you'll agree by the end of this video that there's a lot more to this topic than most people realize. And hello, Nandini, great to see you here, and Kay. Oh, I'm so relieved that this video is working. Honestly, this is the 3rd time I've tried to start this video. Sorry I was late. And I apologize to the people who are trying to watch on YouTube because I'm not on YouTube right now. But if you're watching the replay will be everywhere. It'll be on YouTube and everything. And I always go back afterwards and I will catch your comments. I respond to questions and comments as much as possible. Even if you're watching this a year from now, if you put a comment anywhere, I will most likely see it and interact with you. So I would love actually for this video to be as interactive as possible. And actually, I'm wondering if somebody here could share this video into maybe Kay, if you could share this, or Nandini, those are 2 people I see here who are in my Facebook group. If you could share this into the Facebook group right now, some of the people trying to watch it there might be able to see it more easily. I'd really appreciate that. Thank you. And actually though, since you're here on my public profile, everybody, I invite you please to share this video right now as it's playing. If you have friends or colleagues or students or teachers or just family or anybody, share it into groups that you're a member of, whatever you like to do, the more the merrier. This is important information coming up. I promise it's worth it. Okay, great. All right, hi Ernesto, and hi Stephanie and Melanie. Hey, it is so nice to see you popping up here. I haven't seen you in years and years and years. Okay, so first of all, what is mental practicing? Let's just, get that out of the way for a moment. Mental practicing. Let's define it for now, and you'll see why I'm saying for now. Let's define it as something that we are doing in our heads Mostly, we're kind of thinking, we're using our thinking capacity away from the instrument, okay? But it doesn't actually have to be away from the instrument. So I'm going to just put it out there right now. First of all, I hate the term mental practicing. I think it is a total misnomer, and it really gives the wrong impression, even though everybody kind of knows what we're talking about. We're talking about something that we're doing with the mind, and we think it's away from the instrument, and it is away from the instrument much of the time, but really not always, and that's important. The main reason I hate the term mental practicing is because you're splitting your whole self, you're dividing it into parts, and you're segmenting mental, and you're kind of forgetting about the rest of you when you call it mental practicing. Now, that doesn't mean when you're actually doing it, you are necessarily forgetting about your body and your emotions and your spirit and all that. However, if you use the term mental practicing, just by default, our brains interpret the word mental to mean the mind, and therefore we are kind of automatically not including the rest of who we are. So I think this is a huge mistake, and I am proposing a new word for this, which I've already started using for my students. We now call this MindFlow practicing. Because for me, yes, there's a lot to do with the mind. In fact, it all starts in the mind. However, we're including flow. And flow, it's very easy to realize that that's energetic, and there is a movement, and that means there's a physical component to it as well. And basically, we want to make sure this is including the whole self when we're doing it from the outset. So I might refer to it as mental practicing now and then because, first of all, it's a habit of mine. It's an old habit that I'm working on changing. But also, people aren't really going to know what I mean by MindFlow practicing if they come on in the middle of this video. But it's a very important point that I wanted to put out there. So mental practicing, MindFlow practicing, is when you're doing a certain something with your whole self that is not what you usually do with your instrument, where you're focusing on how you're using your body, what you're doing with your muscles, and so forth. Okay? But because MindFlow practicing is really the whole self, it's really not so distinct from what you would ideally be doing all the time, with or without your instrument. And I'm going to clarify this. It's actually a topic that is huge, like much more than I can give you now in this video, which I'm expecting will be maybe 30, 45 minutes, something like that. But it's really a huge topic, and I'm just going to introduce main points. And the main thing I want to get across today is the 3 common mistakes that I see people doing. And like I said before, even the experts are, I think, teaching this wrong. Okay, and it could just be so much more valuable with the information I'm going to give you. All right, I'm going to hop over to the comments. This is great. Please, yes, keep the conversation going over here. I love it. Robin Harrison, MindFlow practicing is a great term. I'm so glad you like that. Robin says, I've always discussed the inner ear and being a conductor, getting the optimum in the mind. Oh, I love that inner ear. The auditory function in your brain without hearing on the outside is essential for this MindFlow practicing. Susan says, mind-flowing practice for me feels round. Yes, the infinite, right? Okay, good. Nandini says, tried to share it in the... Thank you for trying, Nandini. I will fix all this later. I'm just hoping that people who are trying to watch it in other places can find their way here, but I'll be sharing the video afterwards in case people are missing it. So I'm just glad all of you are here now. All right. Hello, Adisha. Great. Yes, thank you. And Leah says, I use visualization. Yes, that's a big part of it as well. It can be a big part of this MindFlow practicing. I'm realizing that there are probably a lot of people watching this video who have no idea who I am. I don't want to do much of an introduction because you can just go to my website. It's artoffreedom.me. That's .me. So artoffreedom.me if you want to know more about who I am. But just really quickly, I am a professional violinist, have been my whole life. As I said before, I've been doing this kind of mental practicing, MindFlow practicing, more mental practicing actually as a kid. It was working, but now I understand way better how I could have used it even better. But obviously, whatever I was doing when I was a kid was working because I was pretty successful. And, that's probably part of what allowed me to, by the time I was still in my teens, and I'd already played at Carnegie Hall twice, once as a soloist with the New York String Orchestra. So I'm just saying that so I am an accomplished violinist. You can actually hear me on Spotify and everywhere else now with my solo recordings. But I'm also a certified Alexander Technique teacher, and I've been, excuse me, working with the Alexander Technique, practicing it for myself since 2003. I've been teaching it for more than a decade, and I specialize in helping musicians to feel better in mind and body and whole self, and to help musicians develop an effortless way of using the mind and body to play with effortlessness. So improving technical and musical skills is a huge part of what I am helping musicians with. Again, I'm not going to say much more about that. Last thing I want to just mention is that I've put all of my expertise into something that I call the Art of Freedom method. And that includes, it's based on the Alexander Technique universal principles. And then I bring all of my knowledge of and experience of being a performer and a musician, soloist, orchestral musician, whatever. I've brought it all together, and I've created the Art of Freedom method, which has 5 pillars: purpose, mind, body, spirit, and artistry. Okay, so again, you can find more of that on my website or my YouTube channel, whatever you want to look up later. And join my Facebook group if you're not a member yet. It's for musicians of all kinds. It's called The Musician's Advantage with Jennifer Roig-Francolí. Okay, enough about me. Now I want to dive into our topic. Our topic today is mental practicing. Does it work for performers? The answer is yes, but also no. It doesn't work if you're not doing it right. Okay? Most people are doing it in a way that will be helpful. However, now I'm going to go into 3 huge mistakes that pretty much everybody is making that is probably making your mental practicing less than helpful, less than optimum. Even if it is helping a bit, you can be so much more effective with this. Okay, and actually before I want to go into the 3 big mistakes, let's talk about why you would even want to do this. Why do you even want to learn how to do so-called mental practicing or MindFlow practicing? Well, lots of reasons. First of all, you're going to save time. Everybody wants to save time. Put a yes into the comments if you want to save time, because there's never enough time, right? Or just type why if you're on the phone. Let's see how many people want to save time, okay? I want to save time. So mental practicing is a huge time saver because if you do it right, you will learn way faster. You will learn way faster, and your practicing is going to be so much more efficient. You can get so much more done in so much less time that you won't even believe it if you learn how to do it this way that I'm going to share with you. You will be able to improve your memory, because when you do mental practicing away from your instrument, and you're this is a great way to use it, by the way, away from your instrument, you are doing your MindFlow, practicing, thinking through your repertoire. That is the best way to find out where your memory is lacking. That's the best way to find out where you could slip up in a performance given certain circumstances. Like if you're really nervous. Have you ever been in a performance where you were playing from memory and all of a sudden you have a memory slip? Just about everybody has had some experience like that. I sure have, right? Well, those memory slips are much more likely to happen in the places that you will find in mental practicing, but you may not find at all when you're just going through your habitual motions with your instrument. So that's a great reason to use mental practicing. Improve your memory, become more consistent with that. Because if you're trying to sing through, or sorry, you're trying to internally hear your music, and you're going to get stuck, right? This happened to me the other day. I was doing mental practicing, and suddenly I didn't really know what the double stop was that came next. That was great information for me, and I realized, oh, I need to really look at that place. Because when I was running through the piece with my instrument, I would just run through it and no problem. There's no way I ever would have missed that double stop because I'd played it so many times without skipping a beat. No problem, memorized. But then when I tried to think through it, there was something there. There was a bit of a glitch. And that's probably a spot that if I had been nervous playing in public, that's the spot that would have tripped me up. Okay? So memory improvement, very important. You can improve your technique really, really quickly, much more efficiently with MindFlow practicing. But the technique and all of this, really there's a big caveat that I'm getting to. It's so important to know how to do this in the way I'm going to share with you. So we're going to save time. We're going to improve memory, concentration, focus. You're going to find out the places that really need work. Super reasons to use MindFlow practicing. The other big benefit of doing this is that you're going to save energy, right? Who doesn't want to save energy, right? I'm seeing a lot of yeses over there and always yes. Okay, everybody wants this, right? Nina says, hey, Nina. Nina says, I definitely have found that mindful practicing has helped me with memory issues. Mindful practicing is another lovely way to say this. It's much better than mental practicing. Yeah, I love that, Nina. Great. Yes, so benefit, save energy. You're going to, if you have any kind of pain or you tend to play with excess tension and you have body issues when you play your instrument, you've got to employ MindFlow practicing because you're going to save so much wear and tear on your body when you're practicing without your instrument. Listen, we are athletes. Seriously, we are athletes, but we just use fine motor skills. We're not like throwing hoops, and we're not football players or soccer players, not running across a field, right? We are running across this field, like microfields, right? But we are athletes, and we are using energy, and we're using our muscles. And if you can minimize the energy that you need to practice, you're going to have so much energy left for the rest of your day. So, very big benefit. Also, if you tend to have low endurance, low stamina, if it's hard for you to practice for a certain amount of time, include MindFlow practicing. It's actually even more valuable than practicing with your instrument because, and I mean it. Okay, I'm going to make a blanket statement. I'm going to put that out there because I believe this with my whole self. MindFlow practicing is way more important than what you do with your instrument. Okay, that's kind of a bold statement. You may or may not disagree. Actually, if you agree, put a Y. If you disagree, put an N into the comments. I'm just curious. But I'm saying this, not that it's not important to practice with your instrument. Obviously it is. You need to know how this works, right? How your body works in relation to your instrument, whatever your instrument is. And you need to know, well, what's the distance between these two notes? You can only do that with your instrument, right? And you can only get the sound feedback from your instrument when you're using your instrument. But really, it's about 80-20. I'm just, putting my name to that one. MindFlow practicing the way I'm going to describe, which is actually with or without the instrument, mostly without the instrument, but also with the instrument. You need like 80% of that. You need to spend 80% of your time and energy on MindFlow practicing and only 20% with your instrument. That's so different from what everybody out there is saying. How many music teachers have you met who are recommending that you spend most of your time with MindFlow practicing? I bet you there's nobody out here who would say they've ever had a teacher who recommended that, because that's like crazy thinking, right? Debbie, thank you. Yes, that's the 80-20 rule. I love it too. Yes. And it really is true, I believe. Okay, so just for a moment, Paul. Hey, Paul. Paul says, yes, you will practice mentally, subconsciously, whether you intend to or not. How many times has everyone practiced before bed and found it suddenly better and better? So you may as well do it consciously and correctly. Oh, yes, yes. Oh, I just have to give Paul like a heart on that one. I can't though. The best I can do is a like. Oh no, there's a heart. Okay, I could heart all these comments, but that is great. Yes, yes. We might as well do it consciously, and that's the key to what I'm going to be sharing now, because most of us, when we are doing mental practicing or MindFlow practicing, we are not doing, or we're doing it consciously when we think of it as mental practicing, but we're not doing it with our whole self. Okay. So let me just make sure I touched on all those, the points, the benefits, why you want to do this. Okay. Just really quickly, briefly, you want to, if you include MindFlow practicing in your practicing, you can learn to play with the instrument with minimal tension. Okay, so you are improving how you bring your body to your instrument so that you can play with minimal tension and minimal effort if you do MindFlow practicing the way I'm going to show you. And this is what nobody teaches. Okay, I'm about to get to that. Last but very not least, if you have any pain, I think I sort of touched on that, but this is really big. If you have any kind of pain in your body that shows up when you're playing music, you absolutely should be incorporating MindFlow practicing into your practice time, because you are going to heal and overcome your pain so much faster. In fact, I often recommend to, especially my private coaching clients where I work really closely with them one-on-one, and I'm really monitoring what's going on with them. I'm there for them 100%. I am helping them to realize that they can actually put their instruments away and not use them for a day, for a week, for a month, and come back afterwards having improved dramatically in their technical and musical skills while they were healing. Okay, that's radical, and I've seen it happen and work over and over and over and over. I might be the best example of somebody who has, one of the best, I'm not necessarily the best, but I have many times put this instrument away for literally months and not touched it, because it wasn't my priority, not because I was in pain, but I've put it away for literally months, and I've been working on this self, the way I use my mind and body and whole self, working on that in a very dedicated way throughout that whole time. And when I have come back to the instrument, happens over and over and over and over again, I'm always amazed by how I've actually improved, and I'm a better violinist after being away from it and doing this kind of MindFlow practicing. Okay, so now what you all have been waiting for, the 3 huge mistakes, the pitfalls that you really want to avoid if you're going to do so-called mental practicing, which I call MindFlow practicing. This is what the experts are getting wrong. There's just a lack of understanding, and there's a misunderstanding. And I want to offer this and share this. Please tell people so that they can have better information and make it work better. Make this mental practicing work for you. Okay, so I've already touched on the first big mistake previously, but just to recap, it is a total misnomer to be calling this mental practicing. It's not possible. We as a society, we as human beings, especially in this modern world, we have a not very good habit, not so helpful habit, of splitting ourselves and dividing ourselves into what we believe are separate parts. We think of the mind as separate from the body. We think there are things that are mental activities, just like we think that there are things that are physical activities. And that is not the case. It's just not the case. Just to make it really super clear, if you're not with me on this, when you read a book, do you think of that as a mental activity? I did for most of my childhood when I had my nose buried in a book for hours every day. I thought that was an intellectual, mental activity, and I would get totally absorbed in that, and my mind would escape and go off into worlds and imagination and all that. However, there's no way I could have done that if I had not been using my eyes to read, and if I had not been using my brain to interpret what I was seeing, the words, and to be thinking about what I was reading, or even being able to imagine what I was doing. I mean, this is really obvious, but nobody thinks about it. There's no such thing as a mental activity. You can't do a mental activity without your brain, and your brain is gray matter. It is a thing up there. And by the way, there's no such thing as an abstract thought. Another statement I would put my life on. There's no such thing as an abstract thought, because as soon as you're having a thought, it is neurons in your brain that are firing and wiring together to create a sequence that we call a thought. It is physical. It is mental. It is psychophysical. There's no such thing as just physical either. Okay, we know that from MRIs, right? There is energy in the body. And football players, I always thought sports, those are physical activities, right? No, they have to be able to think to move their bodies where they want them to go, right? So I know this is obvious, but it bears repeating over and over again because we tend to divide ourselves into parts. And that is not helpful if you want to be able to make great music, because you need to be able to bring your whole self to your music making. Do not call it mental practicing, please, because it gives totally the wrong idea and it makes you think you're doing something mental when you're not. You're doing something psychophysical, and we must include the whole self. We must include the body, the whole body, not just the brain. Every single cell is connected to every other single cell in the body. The brain is perfectly and beautifully wired to every single cell in your body, even your little baby toe. Okay, everything that you do with your whole self, which is everything that you do, because you can't do something and not have a hand. You have a hand. It's influenced by everything that you think. Okay, so that's the first major mistake that we make, to think of mental practicing as something mental. Hopefully you will never do that ever again, and we're going to start calling it MindFlow practicing. Who's with me? I want to start a movement. I would be so thrilled if everybody would share on their timeline today. No more mental practicing. We're calling it MindFlow practicing. Go watch Jennifer's video. No, I would actually love it if you share this video, because I feel so passionately about all of this. Okay, big mistake number 2. Actually, I'm going to hop over and see some of the comments coming here. Susan, yay! Robin says, I also talk about training the mind that controls the body, and if the mind doesn't have it right, then the body won't, because the neurons fire the body. Yes! Okay, you know what you're doing, Robin. Love that. David says, I think this is somewhat related to what my karate instructor once explained. You should stop your training session when you reach that "yes, I got it" point, because that's the feeling you want to remain in your mind afterwards. Yes, yes, there is so much to be said for that. I'm always telling my students, quit while you're ahead. Stop working on what you're practicing when you've got it, because you want your brain to remember the success, that you know how to do it. Absolutely. I would actually question, though, that you want to remember the feeling. I disagree with that, but actually I'm going to kind of touch on that a little bit later now. So that's great. And by the way, a lot of this work that I do with the Art of Freedom and Alexander Technique, it is very related to the best of the martial arts. Tai Chi comes to mind, Qigong, where there's actual consciousness of energy flow. Okay, that's very, very tied in with the things that I'm teaching. Love that, David. Thank you for your comment. Stephanie says, yes, it works for everyone the same, though, because while you sleep, your brain builds myelin around the synapses. Yeah, truly, what Stephanie and what Paul are saying about doing MindFlow practicing right before you fall asleep, that's one of the best times to do this type of practicing. That's what I did naturally as a kid from a very early age. I would run through my pieces in my mind before sleeping, and I know that I improved while I was sleeping. There's actually research on this, right? The best times to do this are right before you fall asleep and right after you wake up, because then you consolidate what you've learned. Those are the best times to practice if you want to speed up your learning. And that's research. Okay, great. I want to move on to the second biggest mistake, huge mistake that everybody's making. Okay, so actually I just read this in a very well-known blog post, which I won't name. There's a lot of great stuff in there, but there are some things in this blog post that I really take issue with. And the first recommendation is great. Okay, so before you do your MindFlow practicing, your mental practicing, before you do it, you want to take care of your, I'm going to say body. The thing is that, again, even in that blog, it's another example of splitting, right? We're talking about relax the body. Well, you can't relax the body without relaxing your mind. They have to go together. Whatever you think is what you get in your body. Everything starts here, like what Robin just said, right? It all starts in the mind. This is the control command center. This is where I have my students, you are the queen of your queendom, which is your whole self, or you're the king of your kingdom, and you must be on the throne. You must command your kingdom from your throne, which is up here. You want to be up here. Your mind is in charge, and what you think is what you get down here. So yes, it's a nice idea to say relax the body. However, there's this problem with it. It's not just about relaxing the body or calming the body, same thing, right? Yes, you calm the body, but you calm the body by calming the mind. And it happens together simultaneously. So don't forget about the mind if you're calming the body. But the thing that is sad, I think, that the calming of the self is separated from what happens next, right? Yes, it's important to start there. Yes, start from scratch, start from decluttering your mind and therefore your body, releasing overall tension. And by the way, I have a very specific way to help you do this. You can find my video in my Facebook group, in the resources there. It's also on YouTube. I think it's called Relax Everything in 3 minutes or something like that. But it's a very, very, very powerful practice that I teach all of my students, and we do it twice a day, every day. It takes just a couple of minutes, and it's going to allow your whole Are you all with me? I got this strange pop-up on my computer that's saying the current frame rate is too low. Well, I don't know what to do about that. It says action needed. Am I still here with everybody? Could somebody say you're here or everything's fine. Just reassure me that this video is still working and everything's fine. I'm not seeing any comments, but I'm just going to wait a moment because it's always sad when something isn't working and you're not hearing me. Oh, Nina says every so often you cut out for a few seconds. Okay, at least it's working well enough. I don't know what else to do about that, but I'm so glad. Oh, thanks, Nina. I'm glad the sound is good. All right. Okay, anyway, what I was saying is that, yes, you've got to start from clearing your whole self of excess clutter in the mind, clutter in the body. Learn this technique I'm sharing with you. It's called TheCyCle. It's a very, very, very powerful awareness etude created by Mio Morales. It is pure Alexander technique, but hands-free Alexander technique. So it may seem radically different from anything else that you've ever done if you've done hands-on Alexander technique before. But it's very powerful. Do that before you start practicing, and it's going to set you up for success. So yes, you start with overall clearing. You can meditate. Some people like to pray at the beginning. Whatever you can do to calm and relax the system is very, 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 very good. And the only thing I really the things I take issue with are, ignoring the mind-body connection when you do that. TheCyCle takes care of that for you if you do that. And then also, it's like, let's calm the body, and now let's do our mental practicing. No, that's not the way to do mental practicing. You've got to do it as MindFlow practicing as one thing, which is psychophysical. And that way, you're learning how to bring awareness of your whole self in the moment to your MindFlow practicing. You're including your mind, your body, your emotions, your energy, your spirit, your soul. Whatever you believe is you, that happens all the way through your practice session. Okay, so let's not divorce parts of ourselves. Let's not split ourselves, not divide ourselves, separate ourselves. Let's have whole unity and prioritize the awareness of that wholeness and bring that kind of calm, relaxed centeredness. That's another great word for what you want to do at the beginning, but you want to do it all the way through. That is what is going to optimize the value of anything that you're doing in your musical practice, whether you call it MindFlow practice or you call it with the instrument or without the instrument. Whatever you're doing, you're working on this instrument first. You're prioritizing your awareness of your whole self throughout your practice session. That is absolutely essential. And here's why. Coming to number 3, this is a huge mistake. Okay, and this is where people really go wrong, because this is the thing that is going to cause you to practice your unhelpful habits. The thing is, whatever you repeat, you get better at, for better or for worse. So pay attention. This is really important what I'm about to say. If you have habits of playing your instrument, habits that include excess tension. For example, I'm a violinist. If I always bring up my violin like this and I squeeze here like most violinists do, and I bring too much effort and tension to my left hand when I vibrate and my right hand when I want to play fortissimo or even forte or even piano. You can have too much tension when you're playing triple piano also. So if you bring excess tension to what you're doing with your instrument, then you're also going to bring that habit to your mental practicing, unless you know how to undo that. Because the undoing of that does not happen out here with your instrument. it happens up here with this instrument. So you absolutely need to know how to do this. This is a skill. It's actually incredibly simple and easy, but people don't know how to do this. They don't teach it because they don't know it. Music teachers are not going to teach you how to undo overall excess tension away from your instrument and with your instrument because they don't know how to do it. 99 out of 100 musicians, I, again, put my life on it. 99 out of 100 musicians do not know how to consciously undo excess psychophysical tension in themselves. And therefore, when you think about practicing your instrument, you're thinking about practicing your instrument with all of that because your neurons have created a whole network of, okay, this is how I play an A major scale. And if you're visualizing how you do it, and this is how you always do it, you're practicing that. Your neurons are actually already firing and stimulating muscles to contract in the habitual way. You won't actually be doing this with your body, probably, if you're just lying there or sitting there thinking about it. But if you become a very skilled observer of yourself, which is exactly what I teach all of my students, you will start to realize, oh, when I think about playing the Tchaikovsky concerto, my body starts to tighten up. When I practice in my mind how to play Scriabin on the piano, oh, my back and my arms and my fingers are activated. I feel that. Here's the biggest mistake that all the experts and teachers of mental practicing are telling you to do, which is wrong. They're telling you to imagine what it feels like. I'm going to say that again. Do not imagine what it feels like when you're doing mental practice, because the way it feels for you is familiar and it's based on something that happened in the past, and it's based on your habitual ways of using your mind and body, which include excess tension, because that's how you learned it. Is everybody with me here? Okay. I'm just going to check over here. Oh, Barb, TheCyCle rocks. Yes. My students love TheCyCle. I love TheCyCle. It is really, really great. Go to YouTube and learn TheCyCle. I'm telling you, do it twice a day for 5 days. I challenge you. I dare you. Do it consistently twice a day for 5 days if you've never done it before, and I guarantee you will notice some interesting things by the end of 5 days, really good things. Okay, so I think the comments are really delayed, so I'm just going to move on here. Ah, I like that. Wow. Leah says wow. I'd love to hear more about what was wow for you. That's really interesting. Oh, Susan says, yes, I'm with you. Excellent. Great. Okay, so I just want to expand a little bit more on that. I'm just going to say it again because it is so radical for most people. You don't realize that when you're learning something, unless you know how to learn with consciously using less tension in your whole self, and again, people do not know how to do this. It's a natural, normal skill that we all have, but we have not made it conscious. We haven't learned how to do that consciously. So people who are natural players, they just kind of naturally how to do this, but we all have this ability, and we should all be taught this when we're really little, and then we'd all learn really fast and we wouldn't have any excess tension. Nobody would have any pain, most likely. I mean, of course, there is pain that if you step on a nail, that's not your fault unless you weren't looking where you were going, right? But most, and I specialize in helping musicians who have pain. So I see it happen over and over and over again. I've worked with hundreds of musicians who have pain, and the pain is just like the last end of what was going on before that was showing up as excess tension, but they may or may not have been aware of that excess tension. And over time, it just gets louder and louder, and finally your body is screaming to you with pain to make you pay attention so that you think differently and learn how to let go of all that overall excess tension in your mind and your body, because it's the same thing. Okay, so if you want to learn how to prevent pain, you want to learn how to heal pain, overcome pain, if you want to understand why you have pain on a much deeper level, then actually, I'll just tell you right now, I was going to save it for the end, but I want you to know I'm starting a new session of my Jumpstart program. It's called Tame That Pain Now. Play smarter and feel better in 30 days. We're starting a new session in mid-September, and actually early bird registration is open now. So if you're curious, message me or email me and ask me for details, and I'll talk with you about whether that program would be the best for you. I also have a private coaching program, which is it's a longer program that goes deeper, and it's just like really, that's huge. So anyway, if you're curious, just message me and I'll share more details with you about either of those. I have one opening left in my coaching studio for August. So if you are thinking about it, get in touch with me quick. Okay. So anyway, I was going to talk just a little bit more about the idea that people are putting out there that you should be imagining how something feels. No, don't do it. Because, again, I'm just going to say it again because bears repetition. I'll say it in a different way, of course, right? When you are feeling what's going on, let's say you're a pianist and you're feeling what your fingers are doing. You're a violinist, you're feeling how to play an octave in tune, right? Okay. Yes, you can feel that. However, the feeling is feedback. You send a message from your brain to the rest of your body, to your fingers, to go where they need to go, when they need to go, with the appropriate amount of tension they need to make the sound, or to, get into place to play in tune. You need to send your intention from here. That triggers the neurons to fire, and that allows your fingers to go where you want them to go. No feeling yet, notice. Once your fingers are there, you start to get feedback. You get feedback on how the strings feel. You get feedback on what it feels like in your arm to do that. You get feedback from the keys telling you the distance between fingers and arms and where your body is, okay? That's feedback. That's a result. That is not a cause. And here's why you do not want to rely on feeling. Because feeling changes constantly depending on your circumstances. And I'm talking about moment to moment to moment circumstances, depending on how you slept, whether you argued with somebody in the morning, whether you're having a great day, depending on whether you ate well. Did you eat salmon or did you eat a package of M&Ms before your performance? Everything affects your whole system, and therefore the arrangement of parts is going to be slightly different from moment to moment to moment. Now, if you're practicing and you're relatively at ease day to day to day, you won't notice these subtle changes. But I tell you, you're going to notice when you have performance anxiety. Because when you have performance anxiety, you wake up in the morning maybe and you're like, oh my God, I have a performance. And your whole system goes into a startle pattern and you're on alert, your blood starts rushing, your heart is pounding. And then you say, oh, wait, no, I still have time. So you try to calm down. Hopefully you have methods to help yourself. I have that if you need that. If you got performance anxiety, contact me, I can help you. But your system is going to have a reaction that affects how you're thinking, and it affects the musculature of your entire system. It affects your organs, and it affects how you move. Okay, here's a really obvious example. If I'm really nervous, my body is going to contract. Now, I'm going to go on stage and kind of fake it and pretend I'm okay, but I'm still really tight on the inside. And therefore, when I go to my violin to find an octave in tune, and I'm relying on what it felt like yesterday and the day before and for 30 days before when I practiced it at home when I was relaxed, those fingers won't go in the same place because my muscles, my hand is smaller. It's shrunk slightly. The muscles are pulling my fingers closer together. So no, my hand won't go in exactly the same place. Nothing is going to feel exactly the same. And if I don't have a way to understand this and work with this, that can totally freak me out. Because if I start playing and it doesn't sound right from the first note, and my first phrase doesn't sound right, and my bow is shaking and I can't do anything about it, I'm going to freak out and I'm going into a downward spiral with my thinking. My body will keep contracting more and more, and I'm going to try harder and get tighter as I try harder. I'm going to try to focus and concentrate and try harder, and then my sound won't be as good. And it might be more in tune, but I'm doing it with excess, even more excess tension. Can anybody relate to this? Can anybody relate to what I'm saying here? And Wendy says we'll watch the replay from the beginning. I just really hope that my video replay is going to be okay. Anyway, this is the best I can do. So this is just a long-winded explanation of how a very obvious circumstance can throw you off. And if you were relying on how something feels, you're going to be out of luck, because in the performance, when you're stressed, you will be totally out of luck and it won't work. And then you'll go home depressed and upset and you'll say, but it worked at home. I could do it at home every day. The last 30 days it was in tune. Why did it not work on stage? Well, this is why. Because you didn't have a system to help you deal with changing circumstances from moment to moment to moment. And because you thought you needed to practice relying on your feeling. And that is just the wrong way to go about it. In fact, relying on feeling is also going to stifle your creativity because you're trying to create something that's old. You want your musical performance to be fresh and spontaneous and new and a surprise in every moment. You want every moment to be present and available to sounding even better than it sounded in your practice room yesterday. Who wants that? Give me a yes if you want that. I want that. I want my music to sound different every time I play it. I want it to feel different. I want it to feel more exciting if I want it to feel more exciting. And I want it to feel calmer if I want it to be calmer. But you can't get that if you're practicing, rehearsing how something feels with or without the instrument. And this is the biggest mistake people make when they talk about so-called mental practicing. They say, practice how it feels. In fact, they'll even be recommending that you imagine what your arm is doing or what your fingers are doing. And you may or may not be aware of it, but your muscles are activated and they're going into habits. You want to undo habits and create a new habit which allows you to be totally free and spontaneous and creative and fearless. This is a way to become a fearless, painless, stress-free, joyous musician. And I just realized I've been talking for an hour, so I think it's about time to stop. So just to finish point 3, you've got to realize that making music is about constant discovery. I was just chatting with my partner, Mia Morales, the creator of Primal Alexander, which is hands-free Alexander technique. This is the way I teach Alexander technique now. By the way, I teach exclusively online. I've been doing that since 2018. It has nothing to do with the pandemic. I love teaching people all over the world online, and I think it works better. So it's great. So Mio and I were just talking this morning about this idea of mental practice, and I love what he said. He said, music is about constant discovery. You want to discover things afresh, and you just can't do that if you're trying to recreate an experience or a feeling. So just don't do it. Okay? So that's what I've got for you today on the 3 huge mistakes people make. And I just want to wrap up by telling you there are very simple and easy ways to get out of all these habits so that you can get all the benefits of MindFlow practicing that we talked about in the beginning. You'll save time, tons of time, if you devote more time to this kind of practicing. And you'll save tons of energy. You will be way more efficient in your practicing so that you can learn something. I just shared on Facebook that I did this for myself yesterday, and I was blown away because I did 10 minutes of this kind of practicing. And when I came back to my violin, I had progressed so far that it normally would have taken me probably weeks to be able to do what I could do after 10 minutes of MindFlow practicing. Otherwise, with my violin, the usual way, it could have taken me weeks to get the same result. So it's really phenomenal. And if you want to learn the specifics about how to do this, it's not hard, but there are very specific ways to do this. There are ways that I teach all of my students. It's a holistic way. Again, I call it the Art of Freedom method, and I use Primal Alexander as one of my main practical ways of delivering this. You can private message me here on Facebook anytime. I get back to everybody as soon as I can. You can comment here if you're watching the replay. If you're on Facebook, you can tag me. You can also email me anytime to jennifer@artoffreedom.me. And I have an introductory course coming up. We're starting September 20th, and early bird registration is now open. It's especially for musicians who have physical, it's really mental, right? I mean, psychophysical, it's not just physical. But if people have any kind of pain or suffering, it's this time around, I'm teaching a session called Tame That Pain in 30 Days, Play Smarter and Feel Better in 30 days. And I guarantee, I have a 100% money back guarantee because this works. And if you do the work, and that's just a few minutes every day, it's like 5 minutes every day, you commit to taking care of yourself and doing the work for yourself for just a few minutes every day, I guarantee your results, and you will feel better, and you'll play smarter, and you'll know how to do this kind of, well, you'll know a little bit about how to do this kind of MindFlow practicing. And I say a little bit because it's just a huge world when you dive into it. But you'll have enough at the end of that session, the 30-day session, to start implementing this for yourself. In fact, you're going to improve on day one, guaranteed. And by the way, this time around, I'm offering some bonuses, including 2 free weeks. So it's actually a 6-week course for people who sign up now. And if you sign up for the early bird bonus, you actually get my free course it's not a free course. You get a course included for free. That course is called the Musician's Mindset Power Toolkit. It's all about your mindset, and even mindset is a misnomer, but people know what I mean when I say mindset, and then I explain later it's mind, body, set. And yeah, anyway, mental practicing is a misnomer. Mindset is a misnomer. We should not and we cannot divide the self. So let's call it MindFlow practicing. And thank you so much for being here. Message me and we can talk about which of my programs would be best for you if you want to learn more about how to dramatically improve your technique, your musical skills, overcome pain, relieve yourself of excess tension, and enjoy a much healthier, more balanced and successful life as a musician. Thanks for being here. Lots of love to you all. And oh yeah, Stephanie is saying the course is including emotional pain and suffering. It's really true. It's about all of you, how to just enjoy life as a musician, but also dramatically improve your skills while you're at it. And while you're at it, get over performance anxiety and get over your pain in your arms and hands and neck or whatever. Okay, there's just too much good about the program so that I could tell you, so I better stop. I've been talking too long. Lots of love to everybody. Come over to my Facebook group. It's called The Musician's Advantage, and we can continue the discussion there if you like. Okay, take care, everybody, and experiment and explore what's possible if you do MindFlow practicing in this way. Okay, Take care. Now let's see if I can figure out how to turn this off. Bye, everybody.